Gaming handhelds are pretty expensive, at least as far as consoles go. They're basically cheap laptops. Because of this, there are a lot of people wondering if they could use a gaming handheld as their main computer in order to justify that hefty price tag. If you wanted to pit a $700 gaming laptop against a $700 PC handheld, the PC handheld would actually perform pretty well. But it's important to remember that a laptop can do a little more than what a PC handheld can do, like, gee, I don't know, your taxes? I decided it would be a fun little challenge to ditch my main computer for 1 week and replace it with a gaming handheld. Emails, production work, competitive gaming, everything would be done on here. The goal is to just see how practical it is to purchase a gaming handheld over just a regular computer, which you can probably already tell is pretty impractical in a lot of ways. But the fun here is to see what actually works well and how we can get it to comfortably do the things my main computer can. Sometimes, with some extra peripherals, it could be indistinguishable from a regular computer, but then it frequently reminds you that it's just a gaming handheld. This video is sponsored by Factor.
Aw, Zim, did I forget to feed you and now you're eating my whole Factor meal?
Yeah! I forgot! Oh!
I'm sorry.
Sorry, my Frito foot. Oh, I'm so sick of you.
Factor's fresh, never frozen meals are ready in just 2 minutes, so all you have to do is heat and enjoy. Skip the grocery store's prep work and cooking fatigue. Instead, get chef-curated, dietitian-approved meals delivered right to your door for anybody to enjoy. And they've got smoothies and juices and wellness shots. I don't do any meal prep or anything, so having Factor in my fridge ready to go has been awesome. It's ready in just 2 minutes in the microwave, but I like to take my time. 7 minutes in the oven, I think is better that way. And you can try it for yourself by clicking the link in the description below or going to factor75.com and use code YOUHUNGRY50 for 50% off of your first Factor box and 20% off of your next order.
No.
Oh. Yeah, you really shouldn't be eating so much human food.
Don't tell me what to do and get the tight shirt off and make
It's fit you once.
Don't feed me! I'm your
sorry.
responsibility.
Sorry.
Oh, this stuff's pretty good though.
There are a ton of PC handhelds to choose from. I didn't want to do this with a Steam Deck for obvious reasons. It would just be way easier if the device was capable of Windows. Although Linux is capable of a lot. Of all of the rest of my options, I decided to go with the Lenovo Legion Go. It's not my favorite, but most of the reason I went with this one over all of the other ones is just because the screen is so large. I thought having the detachable controllers would give me a bit more versatility, but I honestly left them on almost the whole time. Compared to all the other handhelds, I'm sure this comparatively massive screen was helpful, but it still paled in comparison to even a small laptop screen. I also chose the Lenovo for its 2 USB 4 ports. This helps me dock it with a lot of bandwidth for high resolution and high frame rate video, faster transfer speeds, and the potential for an eGPU. So if I really started to feel like I missed having a powerful computer, I could just plug this into a graphics card and make it into a powerful computer. I'm replacing my late 2021 16-inch MacBook Pro. This thing is an absolute beast. I spend most of my screen time on here on the daily. I do all my video editing and creative work on here. It's insanely powerful for how small that form factor is. I even dock it using this Thunderbolt 4 dock, and I use it as a desktop computer most of the time. It has not shown any signs of slowing down either. It still crushes multiple layers of 4K video files. I do have a video on a second channel about how I have this set up. It's a bit old by now, but not much has changed since then. For gaming though, I usually use this NZXT H1 mini PC. It has a 3060 Ti graphics card in it. It's not the best, but it's been good to me and it was relatively cheap. I use it almost every night to play competitive Valorant with the boys. Sometimes Helldivers, sometimes Call of Duty. For the next week, both my gaming PC and my 16-inch MacBook will be replaced with this Lenovo Legion Go. That's gonna be rough for me because I gotta do my work on here and it's gotta be reliable for that. And also, I don't want my rank to go down in Valorant. I've been teetering on Gold 1, I've been Silver 3 for a dog's year. Now for the next week, I am legitimately putting this MacBook away. I am not touching it. It will definitely be missed. However, I do stream regularly on Twitch, and I could set up this Lenovo to do all of the streaming stuff. I could set up OBS on there and put all my cameras connected to it and everything, but that sounds like such a pain in the ass, so I'm gonna cheat a little bit. So I'm still gonna use that NZXT PC as a streaming rig, but when I play games, they're gonna all be from the Lenovo Legion Go. So for the first night that I started this project, I played Animal Well on stream using the Lenovo Legion Go connected to my NZXT PC. I docked the Lenovo and captured it using a Genki capture card, just like I would a Nintendo Switch or an Xbox or anything else. I even plugged an Xbox controller into this dock and everything. The biggest issue was the controller. It really wants to use the Lenovo's controller because I guess that's registered as player one. There are two solutions. One is to just leave the controllers off when you boot up the system. That way it won't recognize those controllers. The second is to just load your game using Steam, where you can use Steam input to force a different controller to be player one. I actually kind of like this setup. People use two PC setups all of the time for streaming, one PC for playing the game and one PC for streaming the game. Streaming can be a pretty GPU intensive process. So streaming a GPU intensive game on just one computer could diminish the quality of both the game and the stream. So I've been kind of flirting with the idea of streaming games from something like a Lenovo Legion Go as a second computer, and I think I might just do that because this was pretty cool. That night after the stream, it was Val time with the boys. I don't want to be doing too much work here to set up the Lenovo station. So I just plugged my Lenovo into the dock that my MacBook usually goes into. You should watch that other video for a deeper dive on how that works. But essentially, I have my mouse, keyboard, audio interface, and two monitors all hooked up into this one setup with one cable. This one cable allows all that to work through my Lenovo Legion Go, and it still charges it too, with the full power that it needs. This handheld is not powerful enough for 4K 144 Hz on both monitors, so I limited it to just 1080p 144 Hz on just my left monitor, which is the one that I game on, and the right monitor just mirrors the Lenovo screen. So I have Valorant running with Discord on my second monitor and my audio interface picking up my crisp voice. Luckily, Valorant is super optimized, so I was getting over 100 frames per second basically the entire time, and it felt pretty indistinguishable from my usual setup, aside from the fact that I'm using half the resolution, but honestly, that doesn't really matter. The games were fine. I mean, we played bad, but that's not the Lenovo's fault, that's my fault. So, we're only one night in and I already have a few key takeaways. The first being that this thing is just so goddamn loud. You're gonna wanna wear headphones while you're using this thing, especially while playing a game, because the fans are just burring the whole time. There's also no smart power scaling, so it's either quiet mode or custom full blast. There is a smart setting for the fan curves though, so I've been kind of manually toggling between quiet mode, custom with smart fan speed, and custom with full fan speed. Obviously, I've reserved full for when I'm doing heavy gaming or something power intensive. While downloading stuff off of Steam, the entire device is slower. Not just internet speed, but the whole device. It was even hard to just open a web page or just a folder on another monitor. I have to put it in full power mode just to download Call of Duty. There's also just random weird glitches when trying to get the docked mode set up, but that's to be expected with a Windows machine, honestly. So far, this all seems pretty manageable. It's a little annoying compared to what I'm used to, but it doesn't seem debilitating at all. It seems like this is gonna be doable. Day 2 started off, and I usually start my days off with a cup of coffee and my laptop or my iPad sitting on the countertop watching a stream or a podcast or something. Once again, this thing is so goddamn loud. I even have it on the smart fan curve and it just randomly roars up. Even when I just have Chrome open. The speakers are also abysmal. My 2015 iPad sounds light years better. The controller on the Lenovo has a mouse mode, but I never used it. I don't usually use a mouse with my MacBook. I usually just use the trackpad. The trackpad on the Lenovo isn't great. There's no click, so you kind of just have to double tap. I used this sometimes for precise movements, but honestly, I spend most of the time just tapping the screen. I have to be honest, I was a little afraid of the Lenovo's video editing capabilities, because that's my job, and I need to do that. And I was also extremely curious of the eGPU capabilities on the Lenovo Legion Go. Thanks to a previous video on this, I had a Razer Core eGPU enclosure just sitting around. I went to Micro Center and I picked up a 4070 Super. I picked this one specifically because it's an upgrade from what I already have in my PC. So when I'm done with this, I can just put it in there if I can figure out how to fit it. Now, I was almost convinced to just get an AMD GPU because that would be way cheaper, and this has an AMD SoC, so you'd think that it would be more compatible with this. But after about 10 seconds of research, it looks like the drivers just don't play nice together. There's a lot of driver tomfoolery that you have to do. And I've used my 3060 Ti with this setup before, and it was essentially plug and play after downloading the NVIDIA drivers. I don't want my docked play to affect my undocked play. So I went with the 4070 Super, which costs over $600. That's almost the price of a Lenovo Legion Go. This is extremely impractical, but also super fun to do. The eGPU that I'm using only has one Thunderbolt 3 port, and that has to be connected to the Lenovo Legion Go. Luckily, the Lenovo has two USB-C ports. In order to get stuff like a mouse and keyboard plugged in, what I did was I had one cable plugged into the eGPU from the top, and my Thunderbolt 4 dock plugged into the bottom. I had the main screen using the eGPU via HDMI 2.1 and my Lenovo screen as a second monitor for Discord. For some reason, it did not pick up my other monitor, but that's okay. I didn't really want to use it anyway. Luckily, the boys didn't want to play Val that night, so I had the night to work out all the kinks with this setup. And it seemed like things were going pretty good after reinstalling Call of Duty twice. That night, I played Animal Well in bed. That game's great. You should try it. But what I noticed is that the auto brightness setting on this just never worked. So far this whole time, I'm pressing this button to bring up the little Lenovo menu, and I'm constantly changing the brightness, adjusting the fan curves, and changing the power modes and stuff. I feel like I'm driving a stick shift car. The next day, I decided to write down some of my thoughts. Using an on-screen keyboard would be a nightmare. So I've been using this small foldable keyboard. I'll link all the peripherals that I use in the description below with Amazon affiliate links. This is extremely compact, but the keys aren't too small. I typed out a lot of this script on here. It makes this thing feel way more like a laptop, although I do need a surface to rest this whole setup on. It's a split keyboard, which isn't really a problem. I've used split keyboards before, but for some reason, I just can't get used to the B key being on the left. I guess I'm just now realizing that I'm pressing the B key with my right hand, and I don't think you're supposed to do that, but that's just too many keys on the left side. You're telling me there's just N and M on the right? N and M? Jesus Christ. Here's another key takeaway from this so far. Usually, when I'm just sitting around, I'm on my laptop. And when I'm on my laptop, I'm doing things. I'm looking at email. I'm working on future projects. I'm messing around in KiCad or something. I'm doing something that feels like I'm being productive. I have been doing none of that this whole time. I am significantly less productive. Not because this is a gaming device. I just don't want to use this. It's cumbersome. I was actually on my phone significantly more this week than I ever have been, because I just don't want to use this Lenovo Legion Go a lot of the time. I actually wrote a significant amount of this script on here too. On the third night, we played Val, and I used the eGPU, and it seemed like it was going well. With around 300 frames per second. We did a practice round before we jumped into competitive, and the driver crashed. This is unacceptable. What if I got kicked out of a game mid-match? The boys would kill me. So I had to ditch the eGPU and have the Lenovo set up the same way that I did the other night. I plugged it right into the Thunderbolt 4 dock. I'll have to figure out those eGPU problems later. And that I did, because on night 4, I streamed, this time me working out the kinks on this eGPU. And for some reason, tonight the eGPU felt horrible. It was saying I was getting high frame rates, but it didn't feel like I was getting high frame rates. It was choppy, the input lag was terrible. This is way different than what I experienced the other night. Maybe it was the capture card, maybe it was the hub I was using for controller and keyboard connections. It turns out the problem was leaving the Lenovo's screen on at all. I didn't think this was going to be a big deal, especially if it's just mirroring what's happening on my other monitor. I thought that wasn't going to add too much system resources, but it turns out the Lenovo screen is using the AMD drivers, and the monitor was using the NVIDIA drivers, and those do not play well together. So, towards the end of the stream, I disabled the Lenovo screen, and for good measure, I reduced the 4070 to just 1440p 120Hz. This ran flawlessly in both Valorant and Call of Duty, getting around 250 frames per second in Valorant and around 130 in Call of Duty. This fixed everything. That night, I played Val with the same connection I tried the other day, with the eGPU plugged into the top and the Thunderbolt 4 dock plugged into the bottom. I did this because I wanted my audio interface and my keyboard and mouse all to be connected through one port. Except this time, I only ran one monitor, and it felt indistinguishable from how my desktop computer runs the game. If not even a little better, which should make sense. This is a slightly better GPU than what's in my desktop computer. One weird quirk on this night is that it randomly decided to detect my two monitors running through DisplayPort through my Thunderbolt cable as separate monitors. So my Lenovo had 4 monitors connected to it right now. 1 HDMI, 2 DisplayPorts, and the onboard display. I disabled all but one, and everything went smoothly. Hopefully next time I plug my Lenovo into all this, it will remember my settings and everything will be fine. Day 5 was another test of performance. I started off the day writing on the Lenovo just like I did the other day, but this day I also recorded that factor ad that you might have seen or skipped at the beginning of this video. I have to then edit this video, a real test of performance. I'm a little nervous to do that on here because I don't have any of my presets or anything, so I'm basically raw dogging this edit. I decided to start the edit using just the Lenovo, no eGPU, just to see how it did. I was pleasantly surprised by how well it was able to preview the 4K footage. That was until I started editing 2 layers of 4K video at a time. See, I wasn't actually standing next to Zim. That was a little bit of movie magic. So after a few minutes of editing, I decided to finish this edit with the eGPU plugged in. Weirdly, this didn't really help too much. I messed with some settings. It wasn't using CUDA processing for some reason, so I switched that on. That should work better on the eGPU, but it didn't for some reason. Allocating more RAM to work with Premiere actually did work. There's just not much RAM to go around, so it only gave me a little boosted performance. I had to frequently render the whole timeline so that I could see what I was doing. Also, if you're curious about how I make Zim's mouth move, I just use an app called My Talking Pet and manually track the mouth afterwards. If you know an easier way using AI or something, let me know because it sucks doing it this way. When I was rendering this out, I noticed that the GPU's fans weren't really spinning. This is supposed to be a really GPU-intensive task. And it is, but this GPU just wasn't getting hot, so I guess it didn't feel the need to start spinning. The render did take a bit, but all in all, this went relatively smoothly. I only missed my Mac a little bit. That night, we played a little bit of Valorant. Nothing really changed. This whole setup still handled it like a champ. And I'm still Silver 3, goddammit. Day 6 started with me waking up, watching videos on the Lenovo while I made food, and going over this script. And I've got to be honest, today is day 6. I've got to film this video so I can get it over to Benny to edit it. What I have left to do today and the final day is I got to go through script notes, which means looking at the script and going through all the footage and marking what goes where. Tonight, I have the podcast, which I usually use the MacBook for to look at stories and cast them to the streaming PC and stuff. And tomorrow, I have to finish the edit for this entire video.
Something's weird here. Have you noticed?
Yes, you're using a Lenovo right now.
I am not using my MacBook that I usually use. I'm doing a video this week where I use my Lenovo Legion Go as my main computer. I've been like editing and stuff off of here. It's been a goddamn nightmare. All right, let's just go right into the first topic. Now,
Yes.
I usually, what I do is I cast my MacBook screen over to the streaming computer. Why are you laughing? I'm casting my Lenovo screen. It's right there.
I'm laughing.
What's funny?
I'm laughing in preparation for the nightmare that this show is
It's
going to
right
be.
there. Resolution's a little wonky, and I can't crop out a lot of the ads. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
It's actually not too bad having this casted in Discord to that computer. Look, everything's fine. You could scroll around and everything. It's just hard to do it on such a tiny little baby screen.
And I'm here.
It is now the final day, and this has easily been the worst one. We'll start with last night when I was playing Valorant and my Thunderbolt dock decided today was the day where it just wasn't going to use the Ethernet port. It kept randomly dropping connection mid-match because I was using Wi-Fi. I didn't want to use Wi-Fi. I wanted to use the Ethernet on the dock. Right before that match, the dock also wasn't reading the SD card slot. So something was wrong with the dock connection. I just had to unplug it and plug it back in. But I didn't know it was going to do all of that. Today, though, I spent a really long time going through my script notes and looking through all of the footage on here. And that sucked. This is an absolute nightmare to go through all of the clips. Because on Mac, you can just go into a Finder window and preview everything. But these file types don't preview well on Windows. And even in a Premiere timeline, this thing takes a second to start when you select the clip. So it's just been a drag. It was easier for me to go through the footage on the camera itself than it was for me to wait for everything to load on here. A large portion of this video was edited on the Lenovo Legion Go. My editing is usually a collaboration between me and my editor, Benny. I put things together, then he takes it and puts more things together, then I take it and screw around with it some more. So tonight, I'm gonna take what Benny edited and finish it on here. And I'm not looking forward to that. I did it. It only crashed twice. It's 3:30 in the morning. I should have mentioned this earlier in the video, but the second day that I was doing this experiment, I got a text from my manager who was saying that a certain other PC handheld company reached out to me for a sponsorship. And they said, we have a really good idea. We want you to do something like this. And they sent me an article of somebody spending 1 week using only so-and-so handheld as my main computer. Literally the same idea that I'm doing. I said no because I was already a day and a half into the project and I did not want to start over. Also, doing it as a sponsorship doesn't feel right because most of the fun of this is all of the problems that you will have. And a sponsor is not going to let you include all of those problems. I've been doing this experiment to get a better understanding of why anybody would want to main a PC handheld as their main computer. Whether or not it would work for me, and whether or not it would be even practical for anybody. Do you hear this thing? I definitely have an answer now. This reminds me of back when I was in college. It's not that kind of story. I had a Microsoft Surface Pro 2. I really wanted that computer, and when I got it, I loved it. But I was just being really stubborn. That computer sucked. This is reminding me a lot of that because it's a tablet PC hybrid, but this is a lot more powerful and a lot more capable of a lot more things. That one was not. I guess that might be an extreme example of this. People want PC handhelds, but they're expensive as far as handhelds go. The justification these people might give themselves is that they're cheap as far as laptops go. And these PC handhelds could even be more powerful than other devices in that price range. So I can see why somebody would convince themselves that this might be a good buy for them, because this could be capable of a lot if you dock it and use it like a desktop computer. And I'm here to tell you, it's not really at all practical. I used a lot of peripherals in this video, and all those peripherals cost money. Just the Thunderbolt dock alone that I use in this video is over $300. For that price, what, $1,000 total? You could definitely get a gaming laptop that has all the ports you need to connect it to a display and a mouse and keyboard and all that stuff. It might seem enticing for you to use this for its upgradability, because in the future, if you want to get something more powerful, you can just connect an eGPU to it. But you could also just do that with a laptop. And I'm willing to bet that a lot of PC handhelds will be obsolete a lot quicker than some of these laptops in this price range. I also think that I just value having a laptop more than I value having a gaming handheld. I guess I do more work than I do play games. PC handhelds are boutique devices for people who already have computers at home and also have money to burn. I'm sorry, but you can't use this video to convince your parents to get you a Lenovo Legion Go for college. Although, look, I am pleasantly surprised by what it's capable of. After this, I think I will be using it as a second computer for when I'm streaming games. Maybe this convinced you to get a PC handheld as a cheap gaming PC to use alongside your existing computer, like a MacBook or a Chromebook that isn't capable of gaming. But those are definitely capable of work. I can see that being a good justification. As for me, I can't wait to turn on my MacBook again. I've missed it so much. And I'd rather kill myself than ever have to edit anything ever again on this stupid Lenovo Legion Go. What do you guys think? I'm sure a couple of you are using PC handhelds as your main computers. Let me know how that's been going. Leave it in the comments below. Add me on Twitter, any and all this other social media garbage. What could I have done differently? Look, I know that people like to throw justifications out there. Like, oh, it's not so hard. You just have to update some drivers. You just got to change these settings, blah, blah, blah. It all adds up, and it's all a pain in the ass. Hey, I'll see you over on twitch.tv/Wulff. Then we can hang out there sometime and talk about this stuff. But of course, the most important thing that you can do to help support this channel is just subscribe right here. You helped me hit 900,000. Thank you so much. And share this video with a friend who is thinking about getting one of these instead of a computer. This could help them, I'm sure. Thank you very much. Have a good week.